So, as I told the Prime Minister, I am very respectful of the UN investigators who went in at great danger to try to gather evidence about what happened. We want more information, not less. But when I said that I have high confidence that chemical weapons were used and that the Assad government, through their chain of command, ordered their use, that was based on both public sourcing, intercepts, evidence that we feel very confident about, including samples that have been tested showing sarin from individuals who were there. And I'm very mindful of the fact that around the world, and here in Europe in particular, there are still memories of Iraq and weapons of mass destruction accusations and people being concerned about how accurate this information is. Keep in mind, I'm somebody who opposed the war in Iraq and am not interested in repeating mistakes of us basing decisions on faulty intelligence. But having done a thoroughgoing evaluation of the information that is currently available, I can say with high confidence chemical weapons were used. And by the way, Iran doesn't deny it. Even Syria doesn't actually deny that they were used, and that is what the UN investigators are supposed to be determining. And frankly, nobody's really disputing that chemical weapons were used. The only remaining dispute is who used them, which is outside the parameters of the UN investigation. So the UN investigation will not be able to answer that preliminarily. They're not supposed to. But what we know is that the opposition doesn't have the capability to deliver weapons on this scale. These weapons are in Assad's possession. We have intercepts indicating people in the chain of command, both before and after the attacks, with knowledge of these attacks. We can show that the rockets that delivered these chemical weapons went from areas controlled by Assad into these areas where the opposition was lodged. And the accumulation of evidence gives us high confidence that Assad carried this out. And so the question is, after we've gone through all this, are we going to try to find a reason not to act? And if that's the case, then I think the world community should admit it. Because you can always find a reason not to act. This is a complicated, difficult situation. And an initial response will not solve the underlying tragedy of the civil war in Syria. As Frederick mentioned, that will be solved through eventually a political transition. But we can send a very clear, strong message against the prohibition or in favor of the prohibition against using chemical weapons. We can change Assad's calculus about using them again. We can degrade his capabilities so that he does not use them again. And so what I'm talking about is an action that is limited in time and in scope, targeted at the specific task of degrading his capabilities and deterring the use of those weapons again. And in the meantime, we will continue to engage the entire international community in trying to find a solution to the underlying problems.